Maddie Sharp. I had gone out to Rosemary Sears' meeting of the Nassau County Federation of Republican Women, where at that time I had the delight of hearing Maddie Sharp speak about the topic, and she is very articulate on this topic. It's a result of a long family battle with the New York State Department of Education, and long research and study into what Common Core is all about. And, she is, became sort of an expert, to articulate exactly what's going on with our education system and with Common Core. She has Facebook and websites, and she's been promoting that. She's been part of the I Refuse opt-out rally on Long Island, which led to County Executive of Westchester, Rob Astorino, withdrawing his kids from the Common Core exam. So without further ado, let me call on Maddie Sharp.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was a base for what got me involved. I've been studying this and researching this for probably well over a year now. And you can imagine with 5 kids and a husband, where'd you go? There he is. A very busy household. So I'm at this I would have to say about 6 hours a day, researching this for over a year. So with me, everything has to start from the beginning. I don't want to just jump in, and I don't want to, find out in the middle of the road. I want to know who started this. Who brought this to our state? Well, it has to first go back to the federal government. So the federal government started in 2009 with what was called the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. That's a big one. And that was $4.3 billion that was to be distributed to the states in the form of something called the Race to the Top Fund. Okay? And it really was a race to the top. So the money that was going to be given to states wasn't going to be handed to the states. They actually had to compete for it. There were criteria involved. So, criteria means that every state had to deliver to the federal government what the federal government required of the states so that we could be all aligned with the Common Core standards that were not written yet. So it was the 2 trade organizations. The 2 trade organizations was the National Governors Association, the Council of Chief State School Officers, with Achieve Inc., which was created in 1996 by the National Governors Association. So the National Governors Association used Achieve Inc. To create education programs and things like that to benefit and better our education system across the country. And what they did was they partnered with the 2 other trade organizations, and together they came up with what they were going to consider standards. At that point, they went to the states, and they had 2 phases, the first phase and the second phase, for the Race to the Top money. If states were able to get their act together in phase 1, they won Race to the Top funding. Only 2 states won in the first round. So New York State got competitive for the second round. So we have, in New York State, we have a Board of Regents. It's a 17-member panel. The head of the Board of Regents is a woman named Merrill Tisch. She's the chancellor. And then after her is the Commissioner of Education. And basically, once these 2 people, essentially plus the rest of the Board of Regents, are delivered laws, they have the full power to enforce and promulgate education law in New York State. And they are an appointed body. They are not an elected body. People tend to think they're an elected body. They're not. They are appointed by the legislature and the Senate and the Assembly. And that just recently happened again. 4 of the incumbents were put back in, and a new regents was added. So Merrill Tisch went with, and she's the chancellor, back in 2010, went with, at the time, Commissioner Steiner and Deputy Commissioner King, who is our current our current commissioner, and they went across to the legislature, and they spoke to the legislature about changing laws or actually enacting laws. But they first needed the teachers union on board. So they went to Dick Iannuzzi, who's the president of the New York State Unified Teachers Association. And they asked Dick Iannuzzi, would you guys negotiate the terms so we can get one of the measures? And one of the measures was the teacher's evaluation system called the APPR, which is the Annual Professional Performance Review. So back and forth they went, and of course they actually sat down and agreed. This was over, the course of many months in May of 2010. And then they had to also agree to the charter school lift. The cap on charter schools in most states, there's a cap. In New York State, it was 200. They elevated it to 260. So now we can have 460 charter schools. That was another piece of negotiation that Merrill Tisch was able to achieve. So the next portion of that was called the Comprehensive Longitudinal Data System. Now that came as a result of the America Competes Act. It's 12 points that every state had to follow, except for now they added over 400 points of personal identifiable information on your children, including your family, including your teachers. And this they believe wholeheartedly, and I call them the reformers, they believe wholeheartedly that if we collect the data, we can actually partner with third parties, and they can actually create next generation curriculum and software, and their interoperability with the school districts and with the state can churn out better students, better educated for the global workforce. So I guess you have to buy about the whole global workforce, that we are such a failing country that we are 34 in the world, and we can't compete with other nations. But I'm just going to put this down because I'm not following it. 34. We're 34th in the nation, but we leave in other nations they leave whole cohorts out of the equation. And what do I mean by that? Well, they don't educate females in many areas of the country the world that we're being measured against. They don't educate children who come from poverty, your social class. All of these things, forget about it. Well, let's talk about special education, children with special needs. All of those children, everybody falls, in the United States, everybody gets educated. Nobody falls through the cracks. We educate everybody. We educate for the whole child. We educate with not just academia, but with sports and arts and music, and all of those things make for a well-rounded education. Not in other countries we're being measured against. Those children they wake up, they go to school, they go to bed, they wake up, they go to school, they go to bed. It's morning, noon, and night, 360. This is all they do: eat, drink, sleep, education. There's not a lot of fun in their education system. It's not a well-rounded education system. And let me explain to you something else. I had a child who lived in my house. He was 21 years old, my husband and I. He was from South Korea. His story is that he couldn't pass the entrance exam to go into college in South Korea. So that was a dishonor to his family. He had to come to the United States, and he had to become educated in our education system. And he went to Dowling University for aeronautics. And he told us, my husband and I, that the suicide rate in South Korea and Japan for these poor children is through the roof. In fact, on the high school roofs, they actually have bars around them, because that's how bad it is in China too, in some of these Asian countries. So you're acknowledging that. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we do not have a broken system. If we removed from the measure children who have special needs, if we remove from that equation children who are handicapped, or children who come from a lower socioeconomic demographic, if we took them out of the equation, the United States would be way up here. So that's a false narrative, and you shouldn't buy it. So the second portion of that is we talk about the data systems. The data systems are a pretty scary thing when you consider that they're going to collect over 400 personal identifiable points of information on our children. Now, the product that we have to consider is that we're asking third parties to be able to create next generation software. Well, you have to have something to plug into that software. So we have people who actually have a vested interest in this, and thank God they're here. His name is Bill Gates. You ever heard of him? Yeah, Bill Gates, Eli Broad, the Watson family. these people all have a vested interest in what happens to our public school education system. And they see our children as guinea pigs and a cog in a wheel. And they have no interest whatsoever with my son Joey, he's only in the 5th grade, you know, hitting all his high notes. They don't care about that. They care about the bottom line. That's all they care about. And so, God bless you. And your tax dollars that you pay, property tax-wise, I'm from Long Island. I pay over $13,000 a year in taxes. Over $8,000 of that goes to the public school district that we did build. I've been in my house since 1991. So Bill Gates and Pearson's publishing company see my tax dollars as an overabundance of wealth for themselves. And then my children as a cog in the wheel. If that's what you want,